Hello, 101 Women. My name is Jason Welker. I'm the Executive Director of Pend Oreille Peddlers. A little bit about myself. After a career teaching economics in international schools for 13 years in 2 different continents, I settled in Sandpoint full-time in 2017 with my family, where I really began getting involved in the community in different areas, including with the Pend Oreille Peddlers as a volunteer and a member for the first couple years, and more recently as a board member in 2019. I want to talk a little bit about who Pend Oreille Peddlers are, a little bit of history, and how we got to be where we are in the community today. So POP, as we like to call ourselves, was formed in 2004, actually with the express purpose of developing trails in the Sherwood Forest, which is part of the Syringa Trail Network just west of town, if you're familiar with those trails. Sherwood Forest was purchased by a couple here in Sandpoint and placed into a conservation easement with what is today Kinixu Land Trust. And POP was invited to come in and actually oversee and develop trails on that property. Over the next 10 years, we built about 6 miles of single track trails for hikers and mountain bikers in Sherwood Forest. And in the 16 years since we were formed, we have become Sandpoint's local trails organization. So we also oversee the development and maintenance of trails on city property, on Schweitzer property, on other private properties and public properties all around Sandpoint, including the whole Syringa Trail Network and in the Sand Creek watershed along Schweitzer Mountain Road, where we maintain several miles of trail as well. So Pend Oreille Peddlers are really a bike club, but we're also a trails organization. And that kind of brings us to the present. In 2019, Kinixu Land Trust, which is one of our very close partners, acquired what is now Pine Street Woods. Many people in Sandpoint love recreating in Pine Street Woods. And the Peddlers, POP, has partnered with KLT to oversee the development and the maintenance of all the narrow trails in Pine Street Woods. So that's been a big project for the last year. In fact, with all the snow we're getting right now, I think after this presentation, I'll probably be heading straight up into Pine Street Woods to run our little single track groomer around the 4.7 mile winter narrow trails that we have developed and maintained in there for fat bikers, for snowshoers, for dog walkers and winter hikers. Pine Street Woods has been kind of the new phase of Pend Oreille Peddlers. Started with Sherwood Forest, which is directly adjacent to Pine Street Woods to the southeast. And for the last year, we've really been focusing a lot of our efforts in Pine Street Woods, expanding the narrow trail network there and overseeing the development of their perimeter trail and also maintaining trails for winter recreation. I want to give a little bit more history about what we've been up to in the last year. Pine Street Woods is not the only place we've been working. The Peddlers received a state grant from the Idaho Department of Parks and Recreation, and we were awarded this grant in May of 2020. The grant was for the construction of the next phase of what is called the Watershed Crest Trail. Now, this is a high alpine trail that will eventually span from Schweitzer Mountain to Bald Mountain, and then ultimately all the way down to Schweitzer Mountain Road at a future trailhead that we have planned around Switchback 3. This year, we built about 2 miles of the Watershed Crest Trail, connecting a couple of other trails that already existed up in the Sandpoint watershed. This project was a huge success. Starting on July 6th, our trail building contractor, Collaborative Trails, which is a local company, moved their excavator into place. And over the next 6 weeks, POP organized 7 volunteer outings, which saw over 50 individuals come out and spend over 240 hours volunteering on this 2-mile section of trail, which we opened on September 7th. And the trail is called Solar Ecstasy. If you haven't had the chance to get up and experience Solar Ecstasy, it is a beautiful high alpine trail with stunning views of Lake Pend Oreille, entirely built by POP volunteers and our local trail building partners with support from a state grant. That was a really great example of what our community is able to achieve when a lot of dedicated people come together and put in hundreds of hours of volunteer effort towards something really meaningful for the community. Other activities we've done in 2020, besides expanding and supporting the construction of narrow trails in Pine Street Woods and the completion of Solar Ecstasy in the Little Sand Creek watershed, we are really Sandpoint's trail maintenance organization. starting on April 6th, I believe, the first Wednesday in April, we started meeting every Thursday evening at 5:30, and we met for 30 straight Thursdays in a row. Did not miss a single Thursday. Probably had a lot to do with the stay-at-home orders and the pandemic, but we got a lot of work done on our area trails this summer. We would have between 6 and 20 volunteers every Thursday meet from 5:30 till 7:30, head out on a trail, tools in hand, and do all the needed maintenance. In addition to clearing trees after windstorms, which we had a couple big ones this year, those volunteer crews also cleared corridor for the several miles of new trail that were built in Pine Street Woods and on adjacent properties this year. So clearing corridor is a great job for volunteers. It's when you go out with saws and loppers and you cut thousands of branches and you dig roots out of the ground and you cut down small trees and make way for the big excavator that's about to come in and do the machine work on a trail. So POP has been really active in our community. We've had just incredible turnout every week this year on all of these volunteer projects. We also, with me joining as the paid executive director this spring, we began expanding our programs in the community as well. In addition to trail work, we started offering things like summer mountain biking camps for area youth. Over 2 weeks this summer, we had 48 kids from our community join 5-day mountain bike camps with instructors where they got to learn all sorts of skills and do tons of group rides. That carried on in the fall with one of our instructors offering to do after school programs for kids. And we had a little girl mountain bike group meet every Wednesday for 5 weeks in October and continue some of the skills that they began learning over the summer. So POP has really been involved in not just trail building and trail maintenance, but also programming for youth in our community. And we plan to continue that next year. With me in the role as executive director, we're looking for all sorts of ways to provide more benefit for the community. So I want to talk to you now about the project that we're asking 101 Women to support. Much like POP had in 2004 when we were originally formed with the opportunity to develop trails in Sherwood Forest, we now have the opportunity to develop trails in a whole new area, also adjacent to Sherwood Forest and Pine Street Woods. A board member of Pend Oreille Peddlers and a friend of the club recently purchased the 100 acres directly west of Sherwood Forest and directly south of Pine Street Woods. This property is known as VTT. If you are a French speaker, you might know that that is the abbreviation for Vélo Tout Terrain. My French is not good. Vélo Tout Terrain is French for mountain bike. The Myers who purchased this property are avid mountain bikers. And as such, they approached me as the executive director of Pend Oreille Peddlers and asked that the peddlers oversee the development of a trail network on their 100-acre property. If you have hiked in Pine Street Woods recently and found the trail directly south that punches through the barbed wire fence and goes into the property, then it's a trail we built in the spring called Momentum. You might have already experienced a little bit of the magic that VTT has to offer. VTT is a stunningly beautiful property. It's about 250 vertical feet from the Pine Street Woods border down to West Pine Street. Very close to Highway 2. The Myers have offered to build a parking lot and trailhead on West Pine to offer access to their property to the residents of Dover, the residents of West Pine, and anybody living west of town. That future trailhead will offer a point of access to the Syringa Trail Network that is much more convenient for anybody living west of Sandpoint than any of the options that currently exist. In addition, the trail we want to build from that trailhead up to Pine Street Woods is going to be built to a very high standard with a very gentle gradient of no more than 6% and with an average width of about 3 feet, meaning this is going to be a beginner trail, a green trail for users of all abilities, youth, kids on bikes, older people who might struggle on some of the steeper, more technical trails in Sherwood Forest are going to find this is going to become the preferred access point for the Syringa Trail Network. Along this trail, they're going to find stunning views of the Pend Oreille River and a Bald Mountain to the west. There are several granite rocky outcroppings scattered all over the VTT property that offer views that you don't really get in Sherwood Forest, which is much more densely wooded, if you're familiar with those trails. So The project we're asking you to fund is basically the continuation of Momentum, the trail we built at the top of the property in about 6 weeks this spring. We want to continue Momentum from the border of Pine Street Woods all the way down to a future trailhead at West Pine Street. This trail will become the artery of VTT. It's not the only trail we're going to build in VTT, but it's definitely the most important trail. It's the trail that's going to provide access to the rest of the property for users of all abilities. In the future, Pend Oreille Peddlers want to build more trails in VTT as well, perhaps some more blue trails or black trails, more advanced trails. But this trail, the one we're asking you to support, is very much going to be a beginner trail. In fact, it's going to be unlike any other trail in the Syringa Trail Network currently. The trails built in Sherwood Forest, starting in 2004, were all hand-built trails, meaning we built them literally with rakes and shovels. This is going to be a machine-built trail, meaning it will be constructed using an excavator. And that allows us to achieve a much more enjoyable trail experience. It's going to be a real pleasure to ride a bike on or to walk on. In fact, it'll be wide enough that people can even walk side by side, which is something that we really value in our trail building efforts. So that's what we're asking 101 Women to support. The process, the way this works is that if we receive your support, then as soon as the snow melts in the spring, Pend Oreille Peddler volunteers and our professional trail builders, along with the property owners, Julie and Steve Meyer, will begin walking the property daily and placing flags in the place where we think this trail will go. Once we have a route finalized, we're going to bring in POP volunteers. This will become a volunteer project that dozens, if not more, members of our organization will be enthusiastically involved in. The role of volunteers, as I mentioned earlier, is to prepare the corridor. We'll go in with hand tools and clear the way for that excavator. Once the corridor is clear for this trail, which we estimate to be around 1.75 miles in length, Collaborative Trails, our trail building partners, will come in and actually do the dirt work, the excavation work. And then volunteers come back in. So the final phase of the project will be, again, volunteer outings with Pend Oreille Peddler members coming out and doing the finishing work on that trail. The whole process should take around 2 months, we estimate, 6 to 8 weeks most likely. And given the south-facing slope of the VTT property, we anticipate we could begin working on this project as early as late March. So the goal is to have this new VTT 101 Women Trail open to the public around June 1st, 2021. And that would mean that Syringa Trail users will suddenly find themselves in a trail network that is 100 acres larger than it was in 2020. The current Syringa Trail Network is on property that encompasses just about 300 acres. By adding this trail to that network, we're opening up an additional 100 acres, growing our local trail network from 300 acres to 400 acres. And as I've said, this is just the first trail on this property. POP is really excited to be the ones leading the effort to open up this new property to recreation. And once the 101 Women Trail is complete, we'll immediately begin planning the next phase of the VTT Trail Network. And we can't wait to have those trails open to the public as well. So I just want to conclude by talking a little bit about why POP believes 101 Women should support this trail project. We really believe that investing in trails is an investment in the quality of life of a place. Trails are forever, and any trails that we build on this property on VTT will be open to the public forever. Julie and Steve Meyer are placing this property in a permanent conservation easement with Knicksu Land Trust as we speak. What that means is that this property can never be sold for any other sort of development. The land in the easement, in the conservation easement, will be permanently open to the public. So these trails are going to be here for generations of Sandpoint and Dover and Bonner County residents to come and to enjoy. We also believe that building trails is about more than just connecting point A to point B. Sometimes we think of a trail as going from one trailhead to perhaps to another trailhead. We also view trails as a way to connect members of our community with one another. Over more than 35 volunteer outings this year, I saw people from so many different parts of our community come together and work on these shared efforts of building and maintaining trails that we all love to enjoy. I personally got to meet people that I would have never come across in my normal day-to-day experiences here in Sandpoint. And I made a lot of great friendships, and I saw a lot of great friendships form. Nothing is more rewarding than working right next to somebody out there in the woods with a tool in hand and getting filthy. And several weeks later, you've finished this amazing trail and you're all out there riding your bikes as well, or enjoying a hike or a trail run. So we really value our efforts towards building new trails as a way to build community as well. We talk about building community through trails. We're really a community volunteer organization that just happens to have a mission to expand access to trails for Sandpoint residents. So we are really excited to have this opportunity to present to you this beautiful trail that we hope to build. And we really hope that the 101 Women decide to support this trail. If you haven't had the chance, I've created a webpage with more information about this trail on our website, ponderaypeddlers.org/101-101-women. On that page, you can see drone footage of VTT just to get a little idea of the kind of beauty we're talking about here, and read more about why we think trails are a great investment for our community. Thanks for your time, and I really hope you choose to support our project.